The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Security threats are everywhere. But with Xfinity XFi, you're notified of threats to your in-home Wi-Fi network, so all your connected devices are protected. That's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit today. Restrictions apply.
Welcome to a remote edition of the Russo-Souhan Show. Michael Russo of The Athletic is in Winnipeg covering the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights in what might be a great series, although Winnipeg certainly looked great in Game 1. I'm in Washington, D.C. doing some family stuff, so Brandis has us hooked up via phone. We will take Twitter questions later. We appreciate everybody listening to the show. Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. Twill on Instagram, it's TWILL, fixologyrepair.com, Mall of America and Downtown in the Skyway, and Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. I'll tell you more about our sponsors later. Also, our first live Cheryl Reeves show will be this Wednesday, 5 p.m. at Free House in the North Loop. Please stop by and say hello. We'd love to meet our listeners. And if anybody would like to host this show as a live show or sponsor the program, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. So, Michael, set the scene for me. I know we've talked to you before from Winnipeg, but it's probably a little bit heightened with the way that team is playing right now.
Yeah, Game 1 was as loud as I've ever heard it. It was just absolutely deafening in there. I was talking to an agent today that was sitting in the stands, and he said that it was like almost painfully deafening. Like you almost felt like you had to plug your ears. In the press box, you don't really get that sense just because you're so high above it and above the speakers and things like that. But, you know, the outside of the arena, it's unbelievable, especially on Saturday. I mean, people were down here early drinking. Every block surrounding the arena is fenced off, dump trucks at the end of each city block to obviously protect the people in there, just with, the state of today's world and sometimes some of the terrorism that goes on. So that was pretty interesting to see. And these fans here are rabid. I think they sense that this team is ready to potentially go and really bring a championship to this city that has been starved for one for a long, long time. Back when they had the old Jets and the new current Jets. So the fans are excited. They have reason to be. This team looks primed and ready.
Is this the best team in hockey?
I think so. Although Washington, man, they look really good right now.
Yeah, they do.
Tampa looks like they have some issues. And, Ovechkin has been just absolutely awesome. It just seems like he is he is not, he wants to show everybody that I think that he's somebody that could take this Capitals team and win it all. And, it's been almost 15 years for this guy in the NHL and a lot of frustrations in the playoffs and not getting to this point. And now I think he senses that they have the ability to really, 6 wins away from the Stanley Cup. And I think this is, I was more confident that Tampa would beat Washington than I would say that Winnipeg would beat Vegas. And that's how stunned I am right now at the first 2 games. And now Tampa's up against it, going to Washington down 0-2. That team just looks awesome right now. It just seems like Holtby's dialed in. It looks like they just look bigger, faster than the Lightning right now, and the Lightning are just not executing. So Kuznetsov has been absolutely awesome. Lars Eller has stepped in for Nicholas Backstrom and has played absolutely great. So it's hard to say without seeing Washington first up close and personal that Winnipeg's the best team. But I'd still put Winnipeg up against anybody. And Scheifele's just been unreal. Hellebuck's been great. Blake Buff is having, if it wasn't for Scheifele, would be probably the front runner to win the Conn Smythe, at least on Winnipeg's side. They just look awesome right now, and Vegas has a lot of work to do tonight to try to get back into the series.
Yeah, I'm in D.C. now, and I have relatives who are big Capitals fans, and they've always reminded me of Vikings fans. They're passionate. They want to go to the games. They want to be around the atmosphere, but they're also paranoid that something's going to go wrong every series.
Yeah, no, and it usually does. And this is, they seem like they exercise their demons of getting past Pittsburgh, and now they've come in here and took advantage of a Tampa team that had been rested, and really, you look at Tampa right now, and they just kind of look like a mess. They're hesitant. They're not aggressive. The first minute of last night's game to just again fall down immediately was obviously a tough blow. Then they eventually tie the game up or get back into the game, and again they just have a messed up play at the end of the second period where they gave up a couple goals. And really, they were only up in that game. Were able to rally back because of phantom high stick. So they've got to be better. I mean, that's 2 times now that they have given up a goal in the final minute of final seconds of a period, and it's obviously killing them right now. Would it hurt Bruce Boudreau to see the Capitals win it all, or do you think he'd be happy for them? I don't know if he'll be happy for him, but I think he's past that. I think anytime Anaheim loses now, he feels really, really good. But look, Bruce has other things that he's got to worry about, and that's figuring out a way to get the Wild back into a position where they can actually be a contender. Right. Can you update us on the GM search? We're talking here on Monday afternoon, so obviously there's the chance that by people hear this, there will be some news breaking. But just for the moment, what are you hearing? Yeah, I mean, right now it looks like that they've cut it down to both Tom Fitzgerald and Paul Fenton. If there's a third finalist, I haven't been able to confirm that. Fenton comes in the next day or so. Fitzgerald comes in later in the week. And then I've got to think that by the weekend that Craig will figure out what he wants to do, and maybe we have a press conference early next week. That'd be my hope, at least, just to get on with the situation. I mean, it's funny when you have a GM search. It's not that it goes on and on. It's that, my standpoint, you just kind of want to get on with it so you can start, one, cultivating relationships, but two, kind of fast, kind of forward the story. What is the next step? Who stays? Who goes? How do they prepare for the draft? What is the plan to right this ship? Does he agree with Craig Leopold's assessment that tweaks are only needed? So Fenton and Fitzgerald, it looks like those are the 2 finalists. Again, if there's a third, I don't know, but I think that we're getting to the point where we're wrapping up. I am a little surprised at the very beginning. I thought this would be a much faster search, but once you started doing his diligence and Nashville continued, it was very clear that this was going to go longer. And right now, the timeline looks very much identical to the one in 2009 when Chuck Fletcher was hired on May 22nd. The network is talknorth.com. It's a Minnesota-based podcast network, mostly sports. We also have Throw the Boss Out, a business show. We've added the Cheryl Reeve Show and some other shows. Check out the website or our social media feeds for all the shows. And subscribe. You can subscribe either to an individual show or to the entire network, whatever you like. We appreciate the listenership no matter what. Let's thank Scott Dayton and Twill Dyna Galleria. Again, it's twillmn.com. Beautiful website. And I went in the other day. I bought a Peter Millar shirt. I own a couple of Barber shirts. I really like the Johnny O line. I just got a Johnny O golf shirt, and that, this time they're known for all kinds of different clothing and all kinds of different brands. But this time of the year, it's a great place to go buy golf stuff. Scott's a big golfer himself, and he's very, very able to show you not only what looks good, but what's kind of breathable and flexible and good to play golf in.
Hi, I'm Stacy Souhan. I love Twill, Scott Dayton's shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
All right, tell me about Dustin Byfuglien. Where is he in his career, and is he a thoroughly likable character, or is he also a guy with kind of an edge?
Well, I mean, if you're the opposing fan and opposing player, you probably don't love him. But the one thing about him, I mean, if you get to know him, is he's kind of a big cartoon character. I mean, he's got this, I don't know, there's just something about him that just kind of makes you laugh anytime you even hear him speak. He tries to be a bad interview on the ice. He does just crazy stuff, not just to the opponents, but to his teammates. I mean, he goes into goal celebrations and punches his own teammates, smacks them around, shoves his own teammates as he's going out on the ice and things like that. He gets himself hyped up for these games. But the one thing about all his devastating hits in this postseason is that they've all been clean. I mean, they stink. You hate to watch Mikko Koivu and some of these guys, Joel Eriksson Ek get their bodies blown up the way that they have. But man, it is just something to be seen, him take over a series. And it's not just that he's a physical specimen. He's got an unbelievable shot, a huge reach. He's been much improved defensively. He's a thoroughbred on the ice, and that pretty much goes to anywhere, any spot on the ice. And so I did a big feature on him in the Athletic that we posted last night. And I talked to his agent. I talked to John Torchetti. Talked to a bunch of players in the locker room about how this guy has the evolution of this guy and what he has become. And right now he has taken over the postseason. He just continues to get better and become more effective for this Winnipeg team.
Has conditioning been a problem for him at times during his career?
Yeah, I mean, it has, but you look at him now, and he looks to me to be a little lighter than he's been in the past. But look, I mean, that's always been his kind of MO, and but the reality is that he still moves, really impressively for a big guy. It doesn't seem to affect him at all on the ice. I wrote an anecdote today where he basically doesn't play with shoulder pads. I mean, his shoulder pads that an equipment manager on the Jets told me yesterday is one that he would not allow any other player in the league to wear. They're that thin. But yet you look at him and he looks as big as ever. So his conditioning is not something that seems to affect him in any way. And again, he's not. Years and years and years ago, when I'd see him off the ice, he looked like he looked frankly like almost, I don't want to use the term obese, but definitely overweight. And now to me, he just looks like somebody that's just a big guy on the ice. So when I see him off the ice, he doesn't look to me to be supremely overweight, but for the fitness level that a lot of NHLers have, he usually, doesn't hit that type of mode, but he's not somebody that to me, I look at like he was years ago. He looks to me like he's just kind of a big guy.
You said the crowd in Winnipeg was crazy for game one. Compare the Winnipeg atmosphere to the Vegas atmosphere and tell me if one's better or if there's another place in the NHL that tops both of them. Well,
I mean, it's just different here because the building is so much smaller. I mean, it's obviously around the arena. It's just absolutely rabid. That's where it doesn't even compare to Vegas. But in the arena, they're just both very fun. The game ops in Vegas is second to none in the NHL. It's just one big. It's almost like from the start to finish, it's almost like a movie. I mean, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's absolute entertainment. Everything seems to flow. Everything's going on every second of the ice during any stoppage, of the game. Every second of the game, there's something cool going on, and it's immense. It's just impressively produced. We're here. It's more of a hockey game that goes on with just very loud crowds. They're comical. They do a lot of taunting of the other team, taunting of the other goalies. But it's just loud. It's fun. It's been fun to listen to.
Other than Byfuglien, who is the player with Minnesota roots who is the best player remaining in the playoffs?
Well, I would go with Wheeler. I mean, he's just awesome, and he's just had he's had a great postseason. So, I mean, probably I would say I'm just quickly looking at other teams. I wouldn't put Oshie in there. I wouldn't put Tuck or Holla there yet, but I mean, both are having great postseasons. for the Vegas Golden Knights. But Wheeler's the best player. In terms of best player right now in the Western Conference, I mean, Scheifele has just been absolutely dynamite. 12 goals, 8 multi-point games. Just awesome.
Let's get to some Twitter questions and Michael's other thoughts about the playoffs. Do want to thank Fixology Repair, John Hedges' shop, third floor of the Mall of America by Nordstrom's, also in the Skyway downtown, just south of the Wells Fargo Center, across from Dunn Brothers Coffee. It's fixologyrepair.com. They have a nice shop downtown Minneapolis, a lot of accessories as well as the repair shop. They have an even bigger shop with a lot of high-end stuff out at the mall.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
So before we get to Twitter questions, what would a championship do for Ovechkin's reputation and standing historically in the league?
Well, I mean, I think people would just start to view him more as a winner. I think people look at him right now as being an incredible hockey player, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the great goal scorers in the history of our game, but somebody that was never able to get his team over the hump. There's a lot of people that love to crap on him for that, especially the Crosby lovers, to say that this guy isn't a winner, that he's a me guy. And obviously, if the way he's playing right now will change that perception. I mean, this is a great team, but you just look at him on the ice, and he looks absolutely determined to lift his team to new heights, and so it would absolutely change his legacy if he can get them over the hump and to, obviously not just the Stanley Cup final, but being able to lift that trophy. I mean, it honestly gives me goosebumps to just think of what it would be like to watch Gary Bettman hand him the trophy and what his reaction would be, because I do think that you see it in his face right now. He wants to lift this team to something special.
Let's do Twitter questions, by the way. Sometimes our questioners get a little frustrated when their questions don't get asked on the podcast. Gotta understand, sometimes we've already addressed what you've asked about. Sometimes your question is redundant after another one. So I just try to be as fair as I can. I do appreciate everybody sending them in. We do try to get to as many as we can that fit into the context of the show. From Justin Wiggins, there's been talk of taking advantage of Stahl's trade value and contract and moving him, but what kind of return would that be for the Wild?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say right now. He is still a guy that is a year out from unrestricted free agency after this year, and I think that any other team would also look at him as somebody that's like, is he really going to score 42 again in our situation? In their situation. So I don't think that his trade value is crazy. You're not going to get a bunch of young, multiple assets and young picks or high draft picks and things like that for him. The thing that's scary to me about trading Eric Stahl is then what do you have up the middle? You better make sure that you get something up the middle, because right now, obviously they don't have Hull anymore. Mikko's coming off a down postseason and is only getting older, and who's scoring for you? So I just, to me, it's a risk. It's not as easy. I get why people say this, and I think that it should be investigated. But it should only be investigated as long as the new GM knows that he is going to get another top center in here. And that, to me, is the only way you could trade an Eric Stahl.
Right. From our friend Luke Cahill, number one, he misses us. Number two, is it realistic to expect GMs to recognize players who elevate in the playoffs from those who don't have that gene prior to drafting or trading for them? In other words, can GMs identify players who are going to be good in the playoffs, or is that asking too much?
I don't know. I mean, that's why they get paid. They're supposed to forecast. That's why you have a scouting staff. That's why you should get to know these guys in terms of their character, their fitness level, their talent and things like that. But it's a crapshoot. Big game players versus not big game players, and right now the Wild don't seem to have those guys. I mean, and that's just a fact. I'm not just trying to be negative. I mean, this is 6 straight years that this team hasn't gotten over the hump with the same core players. So there just needs to come a point where you look at this realistically, and I think that's why the move was made on Chuck Fletcher, because otherwise, I mean, 6 straight postseasons is not something that should be just taken lightly. I mean, it's a heck of an accomplishment in a league where teams miss the playoffs all the time, good teams with more talent even than the Wild. But there just comes a point now where you have to look at the management and say it's time for a new set of eyes, and that's what Craig Leopold's doing right now.
From our friend Mike Burgoyne, did you find Granlund's quote about Finland being all about the team and not individuals interesting, or am I reading too much into it?
I did not see that quote, so
I didn't either.
Tweet that to me, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't see the quote, and if it was a quote that was in Finnish, I just think that is hard to get the context. I wouldn't want to even read anything into it without me being the one that say it in English and been able to ask follow-ups. But if you can send me the quote, that'd be cool.
Okay, Mike, send him the quote if you can. From Mike Auditore or Auditor, I apologize if I get your name wrong. Is there a possibility of an amnesty buyout for the next CBA? If so, who would the Wild buy out?
No. Oh, there's not a possibility of that. If there was a lockout, maybe you come out of the lockout with some sort of compliance buyout, but I don't see that. It's not just going to be negotiated into the CBA.
Right. From Jeff Ruland on Twitter, what is the timeline for Seattle, and when can I go watch the Wild there?
2021.
All right. From Carson, with the Jets team looking like they could now be a juggernaut in the Central, are there players on that team that other teams could offer contracts so that the Jets would then have to match or lose a player?
Well, you're asking if they have any Group 2 free agents this offseason. They have a couple, but not anybody that somebody's going to give an offer sheet to that's going to make them match. I mean, off the top of my head, their Group 2s are Jacob Trouba, and my guess is that they trade Trouba this summer. I really do. I know Tucker Pullman is definitely an RFA because I was just talking to his agent in the lobby of the hotel. I think Josh Morrissey is an RFA. Adam Lowry, Joel Armia. They have a lot of guys, actually. I think Brandon Tanev. I mean, they have a lot of guys that are restricted free agents, but not anybody that other teams are going to offer something to that's going to make them have to, all of a sudden freak out and match something, some crazy contract. But look, Stasny is an unrestricted free agent because they have so many guys to re-sign, because they have so many kids in their pipeline, because they got to prepare to re-sign Blake Wheeler. My guess is that they're going to let Stasny go. I'm sure they'd love to re-sign him. Enstrom does come off the books this year, but look, when teams get good, they usually get paid. The same thing is going to happen in Vegas. They got a ton of guys that they're going to have to sign as well, including William Karlsson. So Trouba is the one guy, after what he put them through last year with the holdout and things like that, and making it clear that he wanted to essentially just play in Detroit. My guess is that the Jets will try to trade him this offseason, probably to Detroit.
Wow, somebody wants to play in Detroit more than anywhere else. That's just bizarre to me. I know. Yeah. I'm being snarky. Detroit's actually, the city has improved a great deal the last few years, but it's just
it's like look, often. I mean, yeah, but I mean, he's from there, and
right.
Players have those wishes. A couple years, I'll get all the tweets asking me, the Wild going to go after Drew Doughty. Look, Drew Doughty's either going to sign in LA or he wants to play in Toronto, and we all know that. So, I mean, every team, every player has those type of wishes. We obviously saw that where Suter and Parise wanted to play. Trouba, I think, wants to get out of here. If he looks at this team now realistically and wants to win, this is the team, to me, that you'd rather be on. But, frankly, it might not even be his choice at this point. He's going to command a lot of money. He's having an absolutely fabulous postseason, had a good year. And, after what, again, his agent put this team through a couple years ago, I can very well see with all the guys that have to be resigned this year and next year that Kevin Cheveldayoff will just say adios this summer to Trouba.
Learned something new about Tony Hoaglund this week, Mike. You get your insurance through Tony, State Farm agent who works out of Champlin. I get my insurance through Tony. And my wife started using their app this week, and it made everything so easy. I mean, we've never been to Tony's office. Everything we've done has been just easy phone call, email, whatever. But now we have an app, and we can do all of our work with Tony just by using the app and printing out our own stuff. It's just made everything really easy. So check out that. It's Tony, Hoaglund.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
All right, let's hit a few more Twitter questions.
By the way, Jim, I
yes.
just looked up Winnipeg's. I don't know how we got on this topic so much from that question, but I just looked up Winnipeg's contracts, and Connor Hellebuck is also an RFA this summer. So those would be the two guys. But again, offer sheets are a rarity in the NHL. But this is a huge offseason for them in terms of having a re-sign. I was right on, let's see, Hellebuck, Joe Morrow, Josh Morrissey, Tucker Pullman, Jacob Trouba, Marco Deneau, Brandon Tanev, Joel Armia, and Adam Lowry. A lot of guys that they got to re-sign this offseason. And I was right. Blake Wheeler is UFA next year. Tyler Myers is UFA next year. Ben Sherrod is UFA next year. So, man, I would say that it'd be very hard for them to re-sign Stasny this summer, and I'll stick by my that they might trade Trouba.
Interesting. From Nikolai, will the Wild have a new GM by the end of the week?
Unless they're just going to tell Tom Fitzgerald not to get on the plane, my guess is they take through the weekend. But as far as I know through sources, that Fitzgerald is meeting with them Thursday, having dinner Thursday night, and leaving Friday. So if you're considering the end of the week, Friday might be a little bit of a long shot, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind it. I'm in town Friday.
Yeah. From Davis Bailey,
and I leave Saturday again for Winnipeg if there's a Game 5. So man, it'll be a little stressful end of the week for me, that's for sure.
But you handle stress well, so it's not really a problem.
I know. But I guess theoretically I don't have to be in town. We have chat and I can write from afar. But man, it'd be nice to be in town during the press conference.
Yeah, I think you would have some kind of heartache if you weren't there.
Yeah, I would say.
From Davis Bailey, now that the Wild is down to two finalists for GM, what would you see as the biggest differences between the two and how their approaches differ?
Well, just experience. I mean, just again, and this is an elementary thing, just looking at the two of them, but one would be kind of that, a newbie, fresh approach, closer to playing, even though, I mean, Tom's 49. I still look at him as young, but he's 49 years old, but played 1,000 games in the league, has a brash style, probably wouldn't be afraid to walk in that locker room and kind of say, sit down with Amico and say, you're a third line center, and sit down with different players and saying, this is the way it's going to be. I think he's probably got great creative ideas and things like that. In terms of tons of experience, has been around for 18 years in Nashville, has been in the player development role, drafting, things like that. But, the thing with Tom is that he's got this personality that kind of, has got that charismatic personality that is probably going to get along with Leopold really well. Fenton, is a lot more. He's a lot like he played. Kind of honest, hard-nosed, but very much straight and narrow. Maybe not as enthusiastic of a personality, at least from the outgoing. I know Fitzy a lot better than I know Fenton. I think the concern with Paul from others that I hear is that there's a reason why maybe he's interviewed for all these jobs over the last 10 years or so and not gotten them. And I think that might even be something that is potentially a concern here for Craig Leopold. We'll see. But experience would be the biggest thing. Tom is for the last 9 years has been in a player development role, has been an assistant coach, has kind of learned from Ray Shiro. But the question is, and maybe I'll learn more this week, has he negotiated contracts? How is his scouting? How is his work ethic? I mean, that's all stuff that Craig Leopold's going to have to ascertain and feel comfortable with where you know that Paul Fenton has that history of being in a front office for a long time, running a minor league team, things like that. So that would be my kind of long answer to that question.
3 more Twitter questions. Good question, by the way. 3 more Twitter questions, and then Michael's famous non-final thought or final non-thought. Let's see. I think you just answered Dan Seberg's question from UC Turvaharshiala. Okay, I got no shot. Turvaharshiala. Why is the Wild generally bad on acquiring free undrafted players from, for example, Europe or Russia? Lack of scouts or scouting?
Well, they didn't have a Russian scout until this past year, so I would agree there. They've had a couple European scouts that they have had for a long time. Pavel Rudo, who's been with Chuck Fletcher dating back to Florida, and Ricard Pearson, who used to play for the St. Louis Blues. And they seem to go with them in terms of drafted guys. I mean, they went with their recommendation of Joel Eriksson Ek over their North American scouts, who I believe wanted Brock Besser, from everything I hear. But in terms of undrafted players, I mean, remember, that's only been around for like the last 8 or 9 years. Nicholas Backstrom was the most talented one that they've ever had, but they're just, and in this situation, they just signed this Martinson kid, but I'm told they actually were in on a couple other guys, and their agents of those players decided not to put them here because without a GM, you just don't know the future of the team, whether the new GM will like that player and things like that. So, I don't have a great answer for you, but in terms of the one question you asked in terms of scouting in Russia, the Wild have not had a scout in Russia until this past season.
From Matt Zenner, did you get the presidential suite in your hotel in Vegas and in Winnipeg?
Nope, normal hotel room, I promise.
My God, that's sad. That's just sad. Yeah. It used to be a big deal.
Yeah, I know. It really bothers me, actually.
When we know, that's why we ask. From Mark,
actually, the Golden Knights are staying at my hotel here, so I think that's why I've got a normal hotel room. Yeah.
Well, who gets the presidential suite out of that group?
Well, the GM, the coach. That happens in every. GM and coach always gets a suite.
Let's see. Mark asked a very detailed question that I think would take half an hour to answer, so I'm not going to do that one this week. And from Mr. Irrelevant, Futon GM, which is the greatest handle on Twitter, Futon GM, Leopold signed Parise and Suter for business, thus handcuffing the Wild for 12 years at a time when the Wild could have been at the bottom of the league and racked up a string of high draft picks to develop into a contender. Is Leopold too hands-on?
It's his team.
Yeah.
I mean, he decides it. If you want to buy a team, you do it. I mean, his job is to grow the business. It's his full-time job, and he wanted to change the culture of this team, and it did change the business of this team. You could definitely debate whether or not whether that's the right thing, that they should have bottomed out and been in a position where you could draft your way to the top. But that's the way that he chose not to do it. So, I mean, again, that's the way that he decided. We can all have our ideas of the best tack, but it's not our money that was sunk into this organization. And you could, look, the Wild have to do a better job drafting. I was just looking at Winnipeg's drafts, and they've drafted all throughout the first round, early, middle, late. They never miss. They have 10 first-round picks, I think, in their lineup right now.
Wow.
They've hit on every one, and the Wild don't do that. So that's where they have to do a better job. You can draft where the Wild are drafting and still have a good team. Still draft game breakers. And they've missed on some picks. So that's one area that this new GM is going to have to look at is their draft development area and figure out a way to do it. Because it doesn't matter, hindsight 8-9 years ago, what Craig Leopold decided to do with $260 million he bought this team with. It's not, it doesn't matter anymore. They made their bed with Parise and Suter. Right now, this is the way it's going to be, no matter who comes in here. And so they've got to figure out a way to improve that area of the organization.
And the thing is, we all tend to, when we second guess, assume that another approach would work dramatically better. What they could have had happen, they could have passed on Parise and Suter, drafted poorly, and just been a bottom feeder for 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I mean, Edmonton, it certainly hasn't helped them. I mean, it looks like last year was the aberration, not this year. Let's put it that way. And they've been a bottom feeder for a long time. So again, with my only answer to that is I'm not doubting. I'm not what Futon GM said. I'm not disagreeing with your Parisi Suter, handcuffing the team and your philosophy of racking up, high draft picks and developing that way, because you and I have kind of harped on that for years.
Right.
But where I took exception to the question is Leopold too hands-on? It's his team. He decides on how he wants to grow the business. And yes, I mean, you are right that Leopold was the big proponent in signing those guys your deals, but that's the way they decided to do it. And now it's a matter of, after they made their bed, figuring out a way to get this team over the hump, because they are definitely stuck right now in a bit of a neutral, and I don't want to say quicksand, because I don't think that they're sinking, but they're definitely kind of spinning their wheels right now, and they got to figure out a way to get this team over the hump.
A new feature, we're going to call it Final Thought or Not, because Michael might give us one or not. Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. Again, I just picked up some Peter Millar and Johnny O golf stuff and comfortable kind of casual clothes that I like wearing around during the summer. Fixology Repair, 3rd floor of the Mall of America and downtown on the Skyway. Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin and all parts of Minnesota. Give me your final thought or not.
One thing I'm reading this Points Guy story. Did you see the story where a bunch of aviation experts investigated all the data of that Malaysia air flight from years ago?
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
They definitely say that the pilot intentionally crashed the plane.
Oh, wow.
The plane that they haven't been able to find.
Yep.
I don't know why that's my final thought, but that's the thing I've been this whole show, it was the one thing that I saw on Twitter. I'm like, I got to go back and read this. So, isn't that one of the great mysteries of our time? That plane that just still has not been found.
I would say it's a great mystery, unless that's something to me. It would be a great mystery if it was anything other than the pilot was suicidal and he decided to wreck the plane someplace it wouldn't be found.
Yeah, well, it's definitely missing. I mean, if I remember, he went back over wherever the heck they took off on, and then essentially flew south, they think, and it crashed somewhere like heading toward Antarctica, like by Australia or something. It was just nuts. So the other Malaysia air flight, remember the one that was just shot out of the sky over the Ukraine?
Yes, I remember that too.
Yeah, and that one's just like, all right, no big deal. Just nobody pays for that. It's just ridiculous.
Any other happy thoughts we can end with, Michael?
No, I'm in that kind of mood here.
Hey, Michael, enjoy your next flight.
Yeah, thank you. I will. This is a great podcast.
You know what? I thought it was a good, solid podcast until you
it
started
was
bringing
very
up
informational,
pilots.
but definitely not a lot of laughs.
No, not a lot of laughs. Absolutely not. I think but that's part of doing a phoner. When we're together, we can make fun of each other.
No, I know.
Easily.
There is something about there's something about not just not being on the phone, but like having a headset on and hearing the microphone in your ears, and you know what I mean? There's just something about that makes it just a much more fun podcast. So
absolutely,
next time
you'll just have to quit traveling.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Buckle up, because Metro is bringing you the best deal in wireless. Switch to Metro and get your choice of 2 awesome free phones from top brands like Samsung and LG with huge HD screens and tons of memory for all your pics and videos. So hurry into Metro and get your awesome free phones only at Metro. Plus sales tax and activation fee. Requires port in of eligible number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. Limit 4 per account or household. Restrictions apply. See store for details and terms and conditions.
How do you keep your family healthy this season when it feels like everyone around you is getting sick? I use Sambucol. It's drug-free and scientifically tested to help support your immunity. Sambucol has the power of black elderberry in every purple bottle. It comes in tablets, syrup, chewables, or my kids' favorite, the great-tasting gummies. So this cold and flu season, support your family's immunity with Sambucol Black Elderberry. It's the only one I trust for my family. And best of all, my kids love it too.